Blackbeard completely changed the game when he revealed that it was possible to have a second Devil Fruit. But why stop there? Because it's pretty safe to assume that Blackbeard, a character that has 3 skulls in his flag, 3 pistols on his belt, and 3 braids on his beard, either already has or at some point will have eaten a 3rd Devil Fruit as well. The question is he truly the only one who can eat 3 Devil Fruits? Because as some very brave people have theorized before, maybe Luffy also needs 2 more Devil Fruits in order to be able to defeat this man. And so let's just for a moment here assume that Luffy actually gets to have 3 abilities too. What insane options would make the already godlike Gear 5th even more wild? I'm talking about fruits that would give Luffy infinite stamina, let him destroy entire islands, and unleash thousands of punches in a single second. So, how can we figure out what other 2 Devil Fruits are the perfect one for Luffy? And well, the easiest and most simple plot-wise would be giving Luffy a Paramecia type and a Logia type Devil Fruit to kind of balance out his current Zone Fruit. And so, let's actually just explore that first and see what additional Logia Devil Fruit would be best to add to Luffy's toolkit. Starting with a very obvious choice, a gift from his brother, the Mera Mera no Mi. As you know, this fruit is the signature fruit of Ace and now Sabo, both of Luffy's brothers, and it lets the user control and turn their entire body into pure fire. We have seen them light their weapons on fire, shoot small blasts like a gun from their fingertip, and use their heat to boost their already insane physical strength with this spicy power as well. And I'm sure that it's pretty obvious why this is a pretty solid choice for our Rubberman's arsenal as well. For one, it gives Luffy way more range, even though he can stretch for what seems like basically infinity nowadays. Because it's still his physical body that stretches, he's always at risk of being grabbed, cut, or attacked. However, if you give him flame powers, he'd be able to extend all of his limbs and then from there blast flames from them to keep himself at safe distance. Not to mention that thanks to Gear 5th, he'd basically have incredible control over his own fire as well. He would be able to bend it, hit it with a wacky baseball bat like we've seen on Egghead Island, and overall use his flames to amplify his own comical powers. Most importantly though, he'd be able to pay tribute to his late brother Ace and fully embrace his title as Sun God. Ace's ultimate move was Dai Inke Ente, and it's a massive burst of flame that is literally a miniature version of a sun. Ace actually uses this finishing move in his battle with Blackbeard, and if it hadn't been for Blackbeard's pesky darkness fruit, he would have absolutely incinerated him. But now our main man Luffy could just use these powers to burn his opponents to dust and keep his brand. I mean, I can only imagine what it would look like to see a giant Luffy decide to go bowling with his gigantic balls of fire, turning the Gorosei into bowling pins for the ultimate strike. And who knows, maybe he could get even more crazy and use his powers to create his own Mother Flame. I mean, it's a crazy and silly idea, but we do know that it's somehow tied to Joy Boy anyways and the Ancient Kingdom, so what if all Luffy needs to do is basically have flame powers and he could make his own eternal infinite power source? Just a bit of a silly idea to throw out there as well. But admittedly, Luffy can also already kind of create fire. I mean, we see him do this using Red Hawk's superpowered version Red Rock, for example, so maybe being the Sun God already lets you control and create fire. Or maybe it's just his rubber body creating super friction on the air itself and bursting into flames. Whatever lets Luffy do it, he can already create flames to a certain degree, and while it's a really sweet tribute to the family, the fire fruit might just not be the best choice for Luffy after all. So let's shift from very hot all the way over there to very cold and see if the Ice fruit might not be a better choice for Luffy's special Logia power. Being a key staple of the former Admiral Kuzan, this power lets the user completely freeze their opponents, the world around them, and turn into ice itself. It also has the incredibly added bonus of completely negating a user's biggest weakness, drowning, which we do know tends to cause Luffy occasional problems like it did, for example, with Arlong or even with Kaido Kaido. And with the insane ability to create ice constructs like the pheasant beak, or completely freeze an entire island solid with the insane power of Ice Age like we see him do on Whole Cake Island when he steals pudding, it is clear that Aokiji uses this power to completely negate his opponent's abilities to fight him in the first place. He can freeze them solid, give them really bad frostbites, smash them to pieces, and even freeze a tsunami created by Whitebeard at Marineford. But despite all these awesome things, I think the real benefit of this power, and something that Luffy in particular could really use in combination with Gear 5th, is Ice Walls. Yes, I know it's pretty simple and nowhere near a fancy power, but listen to me when I say that it might be Luffy's greatest tool. Remember, we see in his battles with Kaido and Lucci that the Nika Fruit's ability to bend the world around him is very crucial to his victory. He basically starts bouncing around like a ball across the entire battlefield, turning walls, tunnels, and the floor and just the world itself into a type of bouncy castle. So what if Luffy could not only bend the world, but also create it? That's right, with his ice powers, he'd be able to turn the battlefield into a carnival funhouse designed specifically for him, and you could even temporarily place ice blocks in the air, freeze it, jump off it before it falls down. I mean, just imagining what it would look like kind of cracks me up, but also kind of terrifying at the same time. The idea of Luffy creating a table out of ice, turning his enemy into a ping pong ball, and then playing a game with them thanks to the combined powers of ice and rubber is kind of badass and also hysterical. When you really think about it, there's basically infinite possible options for Luffy to use this fruit in combination with his Sun God powers. But I will say it is definitely not the strongest just power-wise. And since ice is a physical object, unlike a lot of other Logiers, the extra defensive boost you get from turning into the element is a little bit less, I'd say. So while it's got a lot of supporting power, it's still not the best one in the mix so far, I'd say. And so I think the actual best Logia fruit for Luffy may shock you. I really mean it. It's probably gonna zap you, and that's because it's gonna be Enel's Rumble Fruit. Okay, after I went back and rewatched the absolutely wild conclusion to Kaido versus Luffy, I did know for a fact that the Lightning Fruit would easily be the ultimate Logia for Luffy to have. Think about it. It's the perfect mix of the offensive power of the Fire Fruit and the insane support potential that the Ice Fruit had. Now, obviously, there's already all of the crazy ways that just Enel himself used this power, like creating lightning animals, turning himself into lightning, and just the absurd power of using electric waves to boost the user's own observation. Just all of these things by themselves would already be insane in Luffy's hands. I mean, he's absolutely incredibly talented at using Future Sight, but if he could see the entire island he was on at once, he'd just be impossible to hit. Not to mention, with attacks like his Mole Punch, he'd be able to attack physically or with his lightning across the entire island remotely. Also, as a little bonus, having Nami on the crew is actually super helpful in this case because Luffy could just extend his own powers as far as he needed to, thanks to her weather technology as well. But it's of course the fact that Luffy has already been shown to wield lightning like a spear and bounce around it that makes it so broken for him as a Devil Fruit. He'd basically get that same funhouse effect of the Ice Fruit, but he'd also have literal plasma swords and weapons to use as a gigantic sun god. And now just imagine the devastating potential of Enel's ultimate moves combined with Luffy's Gear 5th. Because you see, since Luffy can already become incredibly huge with his own Gear 5th giant form, he could, and I cannot believe that I'm saying this, use the island-destroying Raigo alongside the 200 million volt Thunder God transformation in gigantic Gear 5th. Let me repeat that, he'd be a super massive beast that could use his massive energy ball like a Rasengan from Naruto type of to delete islands off the map. Like, move over Emu, Luffy's gonna go completely beyond even godlike. Alright, now that we've covered the Logia fruit and picked one, what would be his ultimate third fruit in this scenario? And once again, I think the answer will surprise you. Let's start with Charlotte Cracker's Bis fruit. In case you don't remember, this incredible ability allows the user to create and control biscuits. But these aren't just your average saltines, no, these are the real deal, even if they don't come with gravy. You see, using this devil fruit, Cracker is able to create incredibly hard surfaces that, when boosted with armament hockey, can even withstand Gear 4's punches. And now imagine boosting that with advanced armaments. Oh yeah, this bread is not breaking easily at all. Not only that, but the user can create armor and even whole armies of soldiers out of them as well. So I hope you can see why this is becoming a pretty great third power for Luffy. He'd be able to create incredibly durable, goofy, and powerful soldiers to fight his enemies. And assuming that he can use his Gear 5th powers on them as well, they'd be basically walking and talking cartoon characters. Considering that he can use his abilities on Kaido, Saturn, and Lucci, these crackers are about to go all Tom and Jerry on Luffy's enemies. And honestly, I'd really like to imagine Luffy standing at the front of the Thousand Sunny, pointing his arm forward as hundreds of biscuit pirates charge forward. All of them bouncing around like little breakfast cereal mascots, destroying the Blackbeard pirates all by themselves without the Straw Hats even having to do anything. However, while I find this fruit actually a really good fit, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and for my next suggestion, I'm bringing it back to my 2 devil fruits video that you may remember from right here. Because that's right, I believe that still Robin's flower fruit is just a phenomenal addition to Luffy's toolkit. Of course, you know that this power allows the user to control flowers. Oh, wait, never mind. That is blatantly lying and false advertising. I really don't know why it's named the flower fruit, if its actual ability is controlling body parts, but I guess by blooming or sprouting body parts from wherever the user wants to is where the name comes from. Anyways, now Robin usually uses this power to restrain her foes, carry items long distances, or use the legendary technique of creating massive body parts out of the tiny ones that sprout from the ground. In fact, she can even go as far as growing wings or creating a huge clone of herself with this power as well. She then normally uses this grappling power to completely break her opponents with intense physical attacks, such as the Grand Jacuzzi Clutch against the massive Spider-Woman Black Maria. Also, to this day, I just can't get that spine-breaking sound effect out of my head. Every time I hear it, it's just brutal. I don't know, like, that's great, but as I previously covered, this fruit's true strength actually is tied into Gear 5th directly. Like, can you imagine thousands of rubbery arms and legs infused with advanced conquerors covering the entire battlefield? In a nutshell, Luffy's offensive potential is kind of unlimited with this ability. However, while this fruit is truly godlike when combined with the Sun God Nika form, which would allow these arms to wield the lightning weapons and unleash fierce red hawk punches all simultaneously, it still doesn't fix Luffy's obvious stamina issues. Now, unfortunately, Gear 5th has been shown time and time again in his battles with Kaido and Saturn, and even with Lucci, to completely exhaust Luffy, transforming him into this very old dude looking type of form. And so even though something like the flower fruit together with the lightning and the rubber powers would make him just offensively undefeatable, still the ultimate combo fruit I think would be something that actually solves the stamina issue. And well, turns out that for that problem, I think there's actually one very perfect solution, a completely world-breaking devil fruit in Luffy's hand, specifically the Cook fruit. Oh yeah, it's snack time. You see, we do know that Luffy can just completely somehow magically bounce back from near death if he's just got some really good food in his system. And unfortunately, most of the time that requires someone to feed him. But what if he didn't need help from anyone and could just, while fighting, even constantly provide for himself? Because that is the sacred power of this devil fruit. It allows its user to transform any object into food. Simply put, it's the golden goose for Luffy's biggest weakness and his Gear 5th issue. We also know that Luffy somehow can just alter and even create items out of thin air, apparently, whatever really he wants with Gear 5th, as he does with these sunglasses or this massive baseball bat. So what if he could turn those infinite items into infinite food? In a weird way, that would kind of turn it into a perpetual motion machine where he could just create infinite power. Like, move over Mother Flame, we have the father pork roast, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, honestly, he'd probably even create a mountain of food with someone like Saint Saturn inside of it and then just try to eat them with a whole gulp and then pull them out of his mouth like a chicken wing or a fish bone, throwing them across the island. So is that really it? Is that the ultimate devil fruit combo for Luffy? Sun and Thunder God Luffy with the power of food? I mean, it's cool, but something just doesn't quite sit right with me. It's really strong, sure, and it covers Luffy's weaknesses, but why doesn't it feel super broken? Maybe I've just been looking at this the whole wrong way. What if the solution wasn't giving him a zone, a Logia, and a Paramecia fruit? Yeah, wait, why actually did I limit myself to these rules to begin with? Because when you think about it, the real ultimate trio of devil fruits would just be all 2-for-1 specials. Like, why settle for 3 powers when I could give Luffy 6 abilities with only 3 devil fruits? Like, I need powers that can defy the rules of regular devil fruits. Like, yes, I think I do have the answer. Okay, it is time for you to meet Phoenix, Mochi, Sun God, Monkey D, Luffy. By combining Marco's bird fruit, Model Phoenix, and Katakuri's special Paramecia Mochi fruit, Luffy can shatter the entire world into pieces. Bro, think about it. It solves all his problems. With the Phoenix fruit, he'd gain near infinite health and stamina, as well as the powerful flames that made the fire fruit or the lightning fruit so good as well. His Phoenix flames could be bent and turned into weapons and walls, giving him the added ability to heal his allies as well. This is just the perfect offensive and support option at the same time. Like, I can picture it so well. Luffy as a giant would unleash these massive flaming wings and soar high above in the sky, blocking out the literal sun, dropping punches, fire blasts, and would probably also do something really weird and quirky like playing fire tennis with Emu in their final battle or something. But the fun doesn't just stop there, because with the Mochi fruit, Luffy not only has infinite food supplies, but also an even goofier body and access to even more world-bending options as well. Remember that we could see Katakuri making weapons and projectiles and turn his body and the world into Mochi as well, and if you combine this with Luffy's advanced Conquerors and Gear 5th powers, he could completely control his entire environments. We also have seen the unbelievable powers of combining this mastery of the battlefield with Katakuri's future side, so doing things with Luffy's crazy strong haki, it's kind of a recipe for guaranteed success. He'd basically be able to sculpt the entire world into the wildest and silliest battlefield that we could possibly imagine. He could literally make an ocean of Mochi and then set sail onto the island itself, shooting fireballs out of his hands by pretending that they're cannons. I mean, he'd be this ultimate pirate Mega Man type of character, so who needs to sail on the ocean when you can suddenly turn the island into a liquid instead, I guess. And then between the Mochi and the Phoenix Flames, he also gains 2 different Logia type bodies, as well as so many other support tools. It's really the ultimate triple threat, perfect for Luffy. And while these are just some of the craziest and most broken devil fruits in the series, what about the flip side? I'm talking about fruits so bad that even Sun God creative mastermind level Luffy wouldn't be able to make them useful at all. Well, I've got you covered, because you can check out this video of the 11 worst and most disgusting devil fruits ever to exist in One Piece right here. Shanks, so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in this next one.